It's not very often I would get to try a very new edition of an airline's fleet or an inaugural flight, though I got that similar feeling on this flight. Recently, I got the chance to fly on Singapore Airlines budget subsidiary Scoot's brand new Embraer E190-E2s, a recent addition to the airline's fleet and the first of its kind in the Southeast Asia region, an area where Airbus and Boeing aircraft are the norm. So it's a refreshing change to see an airline such as Scoot operating an aircraft from Embraer, and I was looking for the opportunity to do a flight report with the new aircraft. That opportunity would come about on a recent Scoot flight from Davao to Singapore. In this edition of Travels with Flights in Asia, I'll be sharing my experiences flying with Scoot's Embraer E190-E2 aircraft from Davao in the southern Philippines to Singapore Airlines and Scoot's main hub of Singapore. Hello from the southern Philippine city of Davao. Located in Mindanao, Davao City is the largest by size, with the third largest population of the city in the Philippines. It's a major agricultural and industrial hub, with one of the products being durian. It's for that reason that the city is known as the durian capital of the Philippines. This trip was actually my first time in Davao, a city that I don't really feature on the Flights in Asia website and YouTube channel. Though I will be doing so in this video for this flight from Davao to Singapore, which will cover 2,500 kilometers in a flight time of approximately 3.5 hours. For this flight, we'll be flying out of Davao's Francisco Bangoy International Airport, the main hub for the city and region of Davao since the 1940s. It is the third busiest airport in the Philippines, serving both domestic and international flights from the current terminal, which was opened in 2003. Davao Airport's passenger terminal does have a main check-in area, though the departure areas along with the arrivals for international and domestic flights are separate. While there is some seating and senders, it's not an airport that you'd want to be hanging out for a long time. So do plan to come to the airport on time for check-in and just before departure. Our flight operated by Scoot today from Davao to Singapore is one of the original international flight services to be offered to and from the city. Historically, the route has been served by the Singapore Airlines Group, with a long history of service by the Singapore Airlines subsidiary Silk Air. After absorbing the Silk Air brand, Singapore Airlines briefly operated flights on the route in 2022 before shifting the operations to its budget subsidiary Scoot. Previously, Scoot has used its Airbus A320 aircraft on the route between Davao and Singapore, but recently, the airline has introduced its Embraer E190-E2 aircraft on the route in late October. The newest addition to the Singapore Airlines budget subsidiaries fleet, as the airline also holds the distinction of the first operator of the aircraft type in Southeast Asia. I had been looking for opportunities to do a flight report with the aircraft after Scoot took delivery of the aircraft in the spring of 2024. Most of the initial routes that Scoot was operating the aircraft on would require me to go through Singapore. Then the opportunity would present itself when it was announced by Scoot that Davao would be among the new destinations to see service of the new aircraft. And without hesitation, I would book my seats for the flight that is featured on this video. So after a rainy drive through the city of Davao, we finally arrived at the Davao Airport to check in for our flight. Unlike the local-based airlines like Philippine Airlines or Cebu Pacific, Scoot, like the international airlines serving the city of Davao, do not have their own dedicated check-in counters. So you do have to wait for the staff to set up the check-in area and for the opening. As mentioned, after check-in, there isn't much seating or vendors for food, though you do have the options for some gift shops. or you can proceed immediately to clear immigration and the security check. Unlike Manila and Cebu, there is an international departure fee from Davao, which I strongly recommend you have some cash ready. For this flight, the fee was around 780 pesos, and following the payment at the counter, you can then proceed to clear immigration and the security check. After clearing immigration and security, you'll walk through the hallway to the international waiting area, which only has one vendor for snacks, refreshments, and other gift items. Within the hallway, you'll notice the Mabuhay Lounge for Philippine Airlines, which is used for domestic flights, and it's only separated by a makeshift divider. Behind that, and just after the security check to your right side, there is a Pugs Lounge, a better alternative for those of you who do have access or are premium travelers. Despite the drawbacks of the pre-departure area of Davao International Airport's international side, usually there is 1 or 2 international flights at a time, and very likely you'll be able to snag a seat. Also, you do have access of views of the airside, which I used the opportunity to get more stock footage. It's here you'll notice the major presence of Cebu Pacific, as the city has become one of their main hubs. As a testament to that, and along with their domestic flight services to the other parts of the Philippines, the Philippine budget airline recently resumed international flights from the city and also launched a new route to Bangkok's Don Mueang Airport, the flight that we were sharing the pre-departure area with for this evening. In addition to the major presence of Cebu Pacific, the Manila-Davao route is one of the few routes within the Philippines that you'll be able to use a wide-body aircraft on a domestic flight. After months of anticipation, it was finally time to board this Embraer E190-E2 aircraft, the newest addition of Scoot's fleet, operating alongside the Airbus A320 family and the Boeing 787 aircraft. Once on board, you'll immediately notice the single-class 2x2 configuration of the aircraft that seats 112 passengers. Besides the standard safety and air sickness bag, you'll also get the duty-free catalog, along with the menu for the in-flight purchases for snacks, food, and refreshments. The seat features a slim, bare design that actually feels spacious, especially for a budget airline seat. And the aircraft is equipped with a Wi-Fi entertainment system. The windows are definitely bigger compared to what you get on the A320s, though for my seat you do have to lean back a bit more or forward to get a better view of outside from the windows. There would be a slight delay, but then we would be on our way to taxi onto the runway before turning around and taking off for departure from Davao in the evening. After takeoff, you can't access the in-flight Wi-Fi entertainment system on your mobile devices. There is a selection of video games, reading material, along with music to listen to. Though it's limited, so if you're very picky with your in-flight entertainment, you should bring your own. There is also another feature of the in-flight map, however it indicated it wasn't available on this flight. The flight attendants would pass around the pre-ordered meals before taking any new orders for the flight. Since I didn't pre-order any meals, I ordered a black pepper beef meal, which also included a Cadbury cookie and a canned drink, to which I selected the lemon tea, with a total price of around 15 Singapore dollars. In-flight, Scoot flight attendants usually accept just Singapore dollars along with credit cards. And unless you pre-order your meals, you'll get your meal heated in about 5 to 10 minutes. Before I got my meal, I got the Cadbury cookie, the lemon tea in a can, and a larger than normal than airline size cup with ice. If you're not into waiting for a meal to be served, it's better to pre-order a meal before your flight on the Scoot website. Freshly heated, it was actually a decent meal. Following the meal service, the cabin lights would be dimmed until we would start our descent and approach into Singapore. Normally on my flight reports, I don't really check on the restrooms, though because this is a newer aircraft, I decided to give it a go. At the rear of the aircraft, you'll notice configuration of the split between the galley and the restroom, which once inside is nothing much to report on. As we begin our descent and landing into Singapore, I do want to mention not only is this my first time flying on the Embraer E190-E2, it's also my very first flight with Scoot. Overall, I did feel that the E2s do have a better overall feel inside compared to flying on an A320, especially with the 2x2 configuration and the lower seating capacity of the jet, which makes boarding faster. This aircraft does give Scoot flexibility to operate newer routes to smaller airports within Southeast Asia, and it definitely would be a welcome experience for those traveling on those flights. As for flying with Scoot as an airline overall, for sure it's not its parent company Singapore Airlines. Being the budget airline of Singapore Airlines Group, this flight does give me a good impression of them. Though I would have to have more flight experiences with them, especially under A320s and 787s, to get a better perspective on the overall experiences of Scoot as an airline. But I will say, based on this initial experience, Scoot is a budget airline that I wouldn't mind flying with in the future. I definitely hope you enjoyed this edition of Travels with Flights in Asia. If you have ever flown this route in the past or with Scoot on their E2s recently, feel free to share your thoughts on the aircraft in the comment section below. In the meantime, I will leave you to experience the evening final approach and landing at Singapore's Changi Airport. Thank you for watching and have a great day.
Singapore Changi Airport, ladies and gentlemen. To all Singapore citizens and permanent residents, a very warm welcome